Heads up alert, March 19th, 2014. Before it is news, alert, Yellowstone buffalo running for their lives. G2 cloud brown dwarf superwave to set off Yellowstone on 3/28/2014. Be prepared for anything.
Hi everybody, today is March 4th, 2014. Unnamed source, USGS suppressing supervolcano activity at Yellowstone under White House orders. In what may prove to be bad news for a 1,000-mile swath of the United States. The Yellowstone supervolcano may be on the brink of a massive explosion that would be categorized as an extinction-level event. Ellie. In fact, recent reports suggest that ancient helium-4 gas has breached the surface layers of Yellowstone's crust, escaping into the atmosphere. Now couple that with the recent and abrupt ground level rise in the park, and we may be looking at a spell for disaster. I mean, after all, as Michio Kaku, famous theoretical physicist, pointed out on January 2011, CNN newscast, when it blows Yellowstone, it could destroy the United States as we know it. And that's what is making us nervous. I don't know about you, but to me, the thought of living in that region is horrifying. But what do I know? I live right near a massive volcano myself in Hawaii. Later in the newscast, the popular physicist pointed out how a 1,000-mile ring of the U.S. would likely be destroyed if the supervolcano actually went. And as scary as that seems, to some we're actually quite overdue for the big one. In fact, the last Yellowstone eruption was thought to have happened around 630,000 years ago, meaning we are 30,000 years overdue for a total explosion. Kaku also pointed out that every single burp or murmur of this gigantic supervolcano, including the rise above sea level, has to be watched very carefully. So basically, if you do the math for the disaster radius, the first 100 miles emanating from ground zero would be completely wiped out. After that, 90% devastation would span out another 500 plus miles from ground zero, totaling a 1,000-mile ring. Yikes. Now this is where it gets really scary, but there's no way I can vouch for this information. I simply can't. According to a random individual who recently posted a video on YouTube, the United States Geological Survey, USGS, has likely been ordered by Washington to suppress information regarding recent seismic activity and gaseous releases in and around the Yellowstone region. This information came directly from a connected individual, according to the video, which also pointed out that they are expecting the big one. The random man source has not been revealed. However, all this matches up with actual data that I was able to reference, showing a rise of ground level in the park of more than 10 inches in the last week. So naturally this has me troubled, as Michio Kaku has stated. As the ground starts to rise, more and more earthquakes take place. That's about all the warning we get, answering a question regarding a forewarning. Kaku finished with, "It will happen and it will destroy North America as we know it." So you know me, I do my research. Here is one earthquake monitoring machine. This one is at Curly Ranch in Utah, which struck me as being interesting. And the day started out as being nice and quiet, and then all of a sudden, activity. This here is Mammoth Hot Springs, Yellowstone Park in Wyoming. Same thing, starts out to be quiet. And then look at that. There is a list of about 5 different machines to register the earthquakes in the Grand Tetons. This is the only one that's working. This is Wyoming. And I'll go down here, and all of a sudden you see all these little tiny lines. Now those of you that follow my blogs about El Euro there in the Canary Islands, I told you how the officials there actually turned down the machine so the earthquakes don't show as large. Here is Borehole Canyon, Yellowstone Park, Wyoming. We got some little glitches. A really long one down here. That would mean magma moving, okay? Some other little blips on their thing. Now, I found this, which was interesting. This is from the Yellowstone Park. It says, "This is Yellowstone. Exaggerate reports of Yellowstone's volatility." The story appeared to be based on misinterpretation of public web quarters, which are graphs depicting seismic data. On the University of Utah Seismic Station website, a borehole seismometer called B944, located near the west thumb region of the park, has been malfunctioning in recent weeks with strong bursts of electronic noise contained in the data. These noise bursts appear to be wild excursions on the B944 web quarters that can appear alarming to the inexperienced eye. So here we are, borehole, Grant, Yellowstone Park, B994, same one. I guess they haven't fixed it since then. Take note of the time. You notice the other one, like I said, was magma movement at about 11 o'clock. And here it is. Here's another one, B208, Borehole Lake, Yellowstone Park, Wyoming. I would say they have the machines turned down, just from my experience from what happened on the Canary Islands. But once again, there's 11 o'clock, and you notice some activity there. And it was quiet earlier in the day. Erie Grant Village, Yellowstone Park, Wyoming. Go down here to 11 o'clock. Camp Tracy, Salt Lake City, Utah. Let's go down here to 11 o'clock. How many of you are familiar with the zipper effect, where an eruption will start in one location and then follow around like a zipper, going around the whole area? I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. East Kamba, Utah. Starts out calm, and look at there. Oh gee, all these machines just started acting up at the same time. Emma Park, Utah. Starts out calm. Had a couple little tremors. Let's go down. I would suspect too this machine, its sensitivity has been turned down. And looky there. See all the little wiggly lines? Fish Spring Mountains. You notice it's still registering, even when it's calm, those two earthquakes that happened earlier in the day. Let's go down. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, must be defective machine. Little Cottonwood Canyon, Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay, starts out calm. There's one you can barely see. And that's probably the other one of those two small earthquakes. Let's go down. Start at 11 o'clock. Oh, wow. Must be another defective machine. Grizzly Peak, Utah. There's one of those smaller earthquakes. Let's go down to about 11 o'clock. Oh, gee, another defective machine. Wow. Indian Springs Canyon, Utah. There's that one little earthquake. There should be another one, but it's smaller, so they got the machine turned down. So it don't show up. Let's go down to 11 o'clock. Got some little activity. Oh, what's this? The machine stopped working. Defective machine. Little Creek, Utah. Another one. There's those two earthquakes I was talking about. 11 o'clock, something happened. Magma on the move. What's this? Maple Canyon, Utah. Okay, there's that 4 o'clock earthquake. There's the second one, and then look what happens. Moose Creek, Idaho. Okay, there's that 4 o'clock earthquake and another little one somewhere in there. 11 o'clock, something happened. They got the machine turned down, but you get the point. Old Faithful, Yellowstone Park, Wyoming, 4 o'clock earthquake. Let's go down. There it is, 11 o'clock. Magma on the move. Alright, so here's the Yellowstone National Park special map of earthquakes. They have 28 earthquakes listed on this map within, that region, I imagine. We got the time, we have the magnitude, we got the depth. I have to emphasize I am not familiar with the activity at Yellowstone, but I do know at El Euro, there on the Canary Islands, that they said they wouldn't worry or start to evacuate people until they had a string of earthquakes that were a depth of 5 kilometers or less. So we got 6, 5, 4, 4.9, 5.3, 4.1. 4.1. So I would look for is that one that occurred about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the other one, which was somewhere around 11 or later, that showed the magma moving. You can see the depth here and the magnitude. I would say there's definitely something going on, but like I said, I'm not familiar with Yellowstone. I'll give you links to all these pages. This one here is to link to go to the earthquakes. There we go. 4, 5. Alright, well, put your comments down below. Bookmark my site. I'll keep you up to date. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diane, and today is March 20th, 2014. Here are your news updates for today. The Watchers watching the world. Moderately strong M1.7 solar flare filament eruption. Earth-directed Hyder flares possible. GOES satellite caught the birth of Tropical Storm Mike in southern Pacific Ocean. Another radiation release detected at New Mexico nuclear waste dump. Heads up, heads up. Don't be around there. Moving on. Nothing new for the Extinction Protocol 2012 and beyond. It's been a while since they posted anything. Very interesting. What was that? Cat. Dog. Go look. Go look, dog. I just heard something in the kitchen. Uh-oh. What is that? Tippy, go. Tippy, go. What's going on in there? Wow. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it. The cat's in the other room, so that's not... I don't know what that is. I'm glad we're going live. That was something bizarre and strange. Go get it, Tippy. Go. Don't look at me. Go get it. Go. Something's running around in the kitchen, and it's not... We'll go get the cat. Stand by. I gotta get up. Where's the cat? Let's go get the cat. He needs to be in here right now. Something's going on in the kitchen. Go, cat, go. Cat, cat. Where's the cat? Cat. Wait for it. Go get it, Tiffy, or the cat's gonna go get it. Go. Go. Something's going on in there. Go. Go. You guys aren't worth anything. What was that? Something jumped around in there. Go get it. Better not be some kind of critter. What was that? Go get it. Alright, I'm back. Don't know what that was in the kitchen. Wow, scary. Well, the cat's out here now. He'll take care of it. Is he still out here? Where's the cat? Oh, God, what's going on? That was something big. Alright. Moving on. Sorry about that. We're going live. Alright. I'll edit part of this out. Alright. Any news, energy news, Japan, Fukushima. Official. Today, radioactive material escaping every day from WIPP and dispersing. Top officials not made available for comment. Expert. Leaks from unfiltered duct went on for weeks. Also, yesterday, WIPP officials admit new release of plutonium and americium. I said this already. More expected in future, nearly double levels seen after February leak. 61 dpm and March 11 versus 36 dpm in February. Moving on. Ooh, shook me up. Where's the cat? Where's the cat? Where's the cat, Max? You're not doing your job. Max not doing... Tippy, do your job. Alright. Alright. Any news, energy news, Japan, Fukushima. KPFA. Dr. Helen Caldecott threatened with death while in Japan for speaking about nuclear power. Students being charged with disturbing the peace for handing out flyers. Also today, Japanese TV. Fukushima fuel cores have molten through. Maybe they mean melted through. Containment vessels. Location of molten fuels is unknown. Risk of recriticality from filling vessels with water. Alrighty then. Steve of Friday. I'm attaching stuff on free energy. Alrighty then. Take care. Be prepared for anything, especially if you live around Yellowstone or in the path of Yellowstone. I don't know what's going on about it. Just heads up on it. Alright, take care. Be prepared for anything. And I'll see you tomorrow on the flip side. Stay safe. Cat! Go see what happened in the kitchen. There. You just want to sit here. There it is. He's not doing his job. He needs to do his job. Go, boy, go. Alrighty, take care. It's 4 days down. We're almost there. 1 to go before the weekend. Stay safe. Be prepared for anything. Watch what's coming up. I try to lighten it up a little bit.
Hey everybody, DUTCHSINSE here. 1:36 a.m. Central Time on Thursday, March 20th, 2014. And we're looking at Earthquake 3D here, which is a USGS feed of the most recent earthquakes. And currently we're looking at 2.5 and greater in the United States, Puerto Rico, and Alaska, and 4.0 and greater internationally. And this is the last 7 days. Now I'm going to draw your attention first in this earthquake update to the United States. Then we'll get into the international areas, on areas that I would watch for the next week or so for possible movement. And some of this might be a little bit larger than normal based upon the activity that's been occurring internationally. The displacement that's been happening in the West Pacific is now spilling over to the United States. Rather unorthodox belief here, but it is occurring. And I'm going to get into that now. So when you look at the United States, and you see this activity that's been occurring off the West Coast, we had the 7.0 last week, followed by the 4.4 that struck down here in Los Angeles that sent the news anchors diving under their desks. No one, hardly anyone, acknowledged the 7.0 that occurred off the northwest coast, followed by multiple 4 and 5.0 earthquakes slightly southeast from the original earthquake epicenter. Now this is a sign of greater movement that's occurring. You can also see these earthquakes here that go right down the edge of the North American plate. And I'm going to show you a diagram in just a moment. This is on my blog here. I'll put a link down below. I posted this last week after the 7.0 struck in California to show the movement that was occurring along the North American plate and areas that I would currently watch for movement. Those areas were struck, by the way, the areas that we were currently watching. Now we're watching again for further movement based upon this update that I'm doing now. Here's the North American craton, and this is just a rough diagram. You can find this in many geology books or similar. And the edge extends from the Pacific Northwest all the way down here to the south and then back up to the northeast. Now the coastal plain extends all the way down through Florida, of course, and the deformed edge extends from Idaho south through Texas and Mexico and then back up the east coast. The earthquakes that we're seeing are occurring in between the deformed edge and the natural edge, the unsubducted edge. And I'll show that to you now. You can trace the earthquakes from the Pacific Northwest right along the edge of the craton, and in the middle of the craton, they are fracking. And they're starting to frack right up the east coast along the edge here. And here's the shale plays. This is from the U.S. government. President Obama showed this diagram at the State of the Union speech last year. And these are the shale plays where they're fracking for natural gas. Ironically, the same areas are experiencing earthquake activity. The 2.7 in Colorado here, fracking operation. Also, fracking operations here at Oklahoma, confirmed from the USGS. Okay, and we can verify that the fracking operation not only in Oklahoma is causing earthquakes, but this 2.7 here at the border of New Mexico and Colorado is also at a fracking operation that the USGS has not acknowledged yet is causing earthquakes. And this is the fracking operation that produced a 5.0 in 2011 going into 2012. So let's get the coordinates on this. And the way you do this is you just pull the coordinates from the USGS and we input them into Google Earth, and it'll take us right to the area where it says the earthquake epicenter is. And I've done this multiple times, marked them over and over and over again, the different frac wells and different oil wells associated with earthquake activity. And you can see I've already marked all these from a previous earthquake. 3.9, September 8th, 2013. Now we've got a 2.7. And look at the size of the operation, by the way. Each one of these square pads, and let me zoom in, each one of these is an oil well. And you can see the pump operation. Several of them are fracking operations as well. Now that's what they're doing here. They're not really getting too much oil out of these. They are now injecting water, and this just goes on and on. I really got tired of marking them. There were so many. You can see they just go off in all the different directions. And we can zoom in again just to prove each one does have a wellhead. Okay, here, oh wow, okay, there's even people here working, it looks like. Okay, and you can see each one a pump and even like a little frac pond. Sometimes they'll have the pond outside exposed, and they use that for excess runoff of chemicals. They'll pull that water and they'll use it as well. So this huge operation here is causing earthquakes. It's obvious. You can see the earthquake activity occurring and the huge operation that extends for multiple miles in multiple directions. That's just here in Colorado. Now let's go back over here and we can look up Oklahoma. Again, we can pull any one of these coordinates. Let's take the largest one over the last 7 days. Let's find it here. It looks like the largest one is a 3.7. And we'll do the same thing. Pull the coordinates, USGS, and put them in on Google Earth. Now, USGS has already confirmed the operations in Oklahoma, so we don't really have to debate this. This is something they've had on their website now for the past several months, that the fracking operations in Oklahoma are indeed the cause of earthquake activity. Right across the street. Right across the street. Nearest well. And there's several. I mean, you don't just have to look very hard. You can see another couple are here. And what we do normally, I don't have the time to do that in this video now, is mark those. So when you come back, you can make note of the previous earthquake activity that's occurred there. And so here we have a 3.7 that's occurred right alongside several others, and that's definitely fracking induced. So why is this occurring? Why are there earthquakes occurring at fracking operations here to the south and at more natural places like Yellowstone and further up the western edge of the North American plate, and now a 2.6 along the New Madrid? I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri. This is concerning to me because this is not a fracking operation. This is actual pressure transfer occurring along the edge of the plate, now showing down here to the south as well as a surface quake. This would be surface deformation that's occurring along the coastal plain, which you can see in this diagram here, how it extends out right to the ocean. This is all buckling due to the pressure transfer that's occurring coming from the Pacific Northwest. It's obvious. You can see which way it's going. We can take these back down now over the last 7 days. Watch the progression. So if you can imagine, these kick off first, then we see these follow to the east. In other words, the pressure is transferring from here down here to the southeast, and we can expect now pressure to be building along the northeast portion of the craton itself. Again, back to the map here. Pressure coming from this direction, from the west, this way, instead of from the mid-Atlantic rise that they teach here. The mid-Atlantic ridge spreads and puts on pressure from the east to the west. However, currently, in the West Pacific, we have a huge amount of movement. Now, these earthquakes that are occurring, the high earthquakes off the globe, that indicates depth. So you can see several of these are volcanic related. So at Vanuatu, going west through Indonesia, several of the deep earthquakes are at volcanoes directly. Now, let's go ahead and look at the 5.0 and greater first internationally to make any sense of this, to see the amount of movement that's actually occurred. Okay, so West Pacific, really showing a lot of movement, extending all the way here from Papua New Guinea, west through Sumatra, north to Japan, where the 6.3 occurred, reported as heavy movement in South Japan, and then a few 5.0s extending across the northeast edge of the Pacific Plate. Now, look at South America, the area that we were expecting, specifically named Chile as the area to watch. Chile got the 7.0 that they were expecting, multiple 6.0s now, and 5.0 aftershocks. And this is again just 5.0 and greater. This is showing us cluster points that we need to watch and silent points that we need to watch. Both need to be watched. Cluster points for large-scale movement near term. And it almost points to the direction where you need to watch. And this area right here in the center would be anywhere from, let's say, Taiwan, south through North Sumatra. And I hate to give that kind of watch because that area already had the large tsunami several years ago, which killed so many people. This area is prone. You can see it. 5.0 activity wrapping the entire area, and a silent area that's normally prone for large-scale movement in the middle. Extending west through Europe, let's take this down one notch so you can see the 4.0s. You can see the progression. First of all, you can see the flurry of activity occurring in the West Pacific. Secondly, it spills right over to Europe, terminating here in South Europe. This means the areas that we saw 7.0 movement, that would be Turkey, also extending east to Iran, would need to watch. Also, Western China, the other 7.0 that happened several weeks ago during the Olympics, didn't get much reporting on because of what was going on with the cold Arctic blast happening in the U.S. No one reported on the large earthquake in China. So that's a cluster spot. You can see it right here, stacked. Also, watch southern Greece. That would be an area where we could see possible movement in the near term. Also, as we see smaller earthquakes, which are not on the map here, we also need to watch right here along the English Channel. I know it's such a small area to watch, but we're going to need to watch for that smaller movement further to the west in Europe and extending around the Ring of Fire. There's these cluster spots again, which you can see with the 5.0s and greater, are the areas to watch. So it kind of narrows down the area that you need to watch. In the U.S., along the edge of the craton, we need to be aware. Along the East Coast, New Madrid, not out of the question. However, it wouldn't be as large as you might expect. It would be in that moderate range like we saw with the Virginia earthquake in 2011 that damaged the Washington Monument. We saw this kind of activity building up beforehand, before that occurred. It's due, it's silent now, we need to watch that area. Southern California, another area that we do need to watch, and the area specifically I would be watching would be at the Salton Sea, south to Baja. So let's hope that if any sizable movement were to occur, We haven't seen any activity in this region, large activity, in a fairly long time. We saw the 6.0 strike here in southern Mexico almost a week and a half ago. However, that's not the sizable activity that we would expect with this amount of movement occurring around the rest of the Ring of Fire. And look, it's been rather silent there as well lately. Okay? Guys, always have an earthquake plan ready and be prepared, just in case. If you live in an earthquake-prone area, the time to prepare is now. So it's not a big deal, but just have that plan ready and be prepared. If you live
Hello everyone, this is Daniel Nunez with OneStopEnergies.com. Today I'm going to show you a free energy work in the progress. So let's check this out. We're using vortex coils today, and let's look up on the roof. That's an old antenna. That's a plane, but that's an old antenna, and that old antenna is not being used because nobody uses that type of television antenna anymore. So what we're doing here is we're running that wire down from the antenna over down this way into our PoE Mini. And what's happening here is that we're collecting the energy from the antenna with this little simple circuit for rectifying radio wave signals. So what we're doing is we're collecting electricity over here. So as I change the frequency, I'll be able to generate more power, because right now I'm actually using less power. So resistance is all the way down. The coil is not resonating right now. So I'm able to charge up my little capacitors over here. So you're looking at the DC voltage, that's 1.9 volts, and that's charging up those two little capacitors there. And these are buffering capacitors, so those regulate the frequencies. The little black diodes, they force energy in one direction, so it creates a mandatory charge into those two capacitors. Now I have a different circuit. This is the same SEC circuit we've been running for pretty much majority of our experiments. I've got a 1 mega ohm potentiometer on there and a 3.4 volt LED. So you can see we've already charged up to 2 volts. And let's go ahead and spike this energy. This is all free energy, and let's give it the right frequency. And I'm just turning that little knob. There you go. So you saw the flash. That discharged my capacitors, and now they're charging back up again. And let's look for that frequency again. There it goes. Discharge my capacitors. Let's do it again. So I'm lowering the frequency and then raising it back up. So give it a little charging time there. There it goes. That's a spike of free energy. So I'm tuning this. This is a SEC circuit. It's like a Joule Thief. So a lot of people know about Joule Thief circuits already. Pretty good at pulling or there's a lot of playing activity going on today. But the Joule Thief circuits are good for oscillating lights at low wattage input. It's charging up. Okay, so those are just little flashes of energy. Those are the discharges on those two very, very tiny capacitors. So Otherwise, those little caps would never light. They wouldn't even tickle a 3.4 volt LED. So, you know, let alone sustain the light for long durations. So, it's just a little small scale proof of concept here. Nothing under the table. See, it's just, we're recollecting electricity from the antenna. It goes up to the house, and we're rectifying all that radio wave that's being picked up, and then we're using that same signal to come in here. I also forgot to mention that the negative ground has to go right into the dirt. So this is my negative right there. So if I take this off, the whole process stops. So I have to plug this right into the ground and give it a good negative discharge in order for the electricity to stay in these capacitors. So one last time, we're at 1.4 volts, and let's discharge the capacitor. There we go. So very novel effect, but that's free energy coming from the antennas that are pretty much scattered around everywhere. Everybody's got them, nobody's using them, and yeah, this is a good way of getting some free light. So scaling this up, we would change up some of these circuits, advance this circuit to pick up radio wave frequencies, and then we can oscillate the energy using these vortex coils. So I know I said one last time before, but let's just do it again. So it's charging up. Frequency is very low, and now we're raising the frequency, finding the resonance point, and boom, there goes some light. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, feel free to post in the comment section below. As always, take care, blessings, love, and many thanks to you all. And free energy is in our future. Thanks for watching.
Nice doggy. I like